What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and today on the show, I'm pleased once again to have another Bryant University athlete with us today. As you know, I love to get Bryant University athletes on the podcast because I'm a Bryant University student myself. I love to get them on. I've currently interviewed students up to this point, including Michael Green III, Tyler Madison, and incoming basketball player Adam Alita. Today, I'm finally taking things over to the gridiron. It's about time. And I'm pleased to do it, and I'm really pleased to do it because on today's program, I'm having on running back. Is that your position, or
I
is
play
it
corner
cornerback?
defense.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out the number there. And his name is Ronell Joseph, and he's also a music artist. He does a lot of stuff over there. Ronell, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's finally good to get another show out. It's been a little bit. I kind of took a little time off for the 4th of July. I'm feeling a lot better now. I was feeling sick the last couple days, so finally kind of on the upswing with things. So it's about I'm in a good spot myself.
For sure.
Yeah. So, Renell, why don't you kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself, kind of, about your life in football, and then, your passion with music and everything going on there.
I'll keep this part pretty simple. I'm Ronell Joseph. I'm from Rochester, New York. You may know me as Nell The Artist. I make music. I'm on all streaming platforms. That's been going pretty good. I'm just excited to get back on campus, get to work with my teammates, and then get back in the studio, maybe do something out in Rhode Island, music-wise. But other than that, that's pretty much all I got going on right now.
That's awesome to hear, man. So, we'll get into your music and everything going on there in just a little bit. But first, obviously, with this being a sports themed show, I did want to touch on your football journey and everything going on there. My apologies with the position mix up. I see 24 and I just think of just some guys like that. But then again, Darrell Rivas, you always think of guys like that who's rep 24 at that position as well. So let's
Yeah,
get
for
right into
sure.
the swing of things here. And, first of all, I just want to ask you, you know, growing up, like, how did you really get into football? Like, what really kind of got you interested in it at a young age?
To be honest, like as far as I can remember, I just always loved football. It all started with the
Hmm.
Buffalo Bills. I'm still a Bills fan to this day, but for some reason I saw the Buffalo Bills play when I was a baby, and that just made me want to play football. I mean, my dad played football himself, and that's kind of what got me into it. That's why I wear 24 because he wore 42. So I kind of
Oh,
I
shoot.
didn't want to wear 42, so I tried to kind of but that was my very first football number ever was 24. Pretty much my parents just loved the sport of football because my dad grew up playing it, and then I kind of just that like my very first baby picture, I had a football in my hand, so it kind of just was natural. Like it wasn't anything, it wasn't forced. I just fell in love with it, and it just kind of took off from there.
Hmm. So, you could say Bills Mafia has had quite the impact on you lately. I know that they've, man, that fan base is insane, dude.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm being from Rochester, I'm so close to Buffalo, so it's nothing for me to go to a game like 45 out, be in Buffalo.
Oh wow, that's not yeah. That's kind of like the drive I have to do from like my town over to Gillette. So that's actually kind of
Yeah,
it's not too bad. Yeah.
yeah, nah, it's cool.
What have you ever been to any Bills games?
Yeah, I try to go to them every so often. It's been hard because obviously, like, while the Bills are in season, I'm in season all the way in Rhode Island. Like in high school, it was easier because like
Hmm.
we'll play on Saturdays, and then Sunday was
Yeah.
obviously free. But now it's hard to like get from Rhode Island to Buffalo. It's like 7 hours, so it's been hard for me to get to a Bills game. But I'm gonna try one of these years to get back to them. The last time I went was probably my senior year of high school, and ever since then, obviously, like
Okay.
football at Bryant has been demanding.
Fair. I can understand that 100%. Kind of
Yeah.
going into football at Bryant, Bryant Division One football, very good program going over there. When did you kind of realize that, hey, I might be good enough as an athlete to maybe make it to D1 and, play at that kind of a level? When did a coach maybe approach you and say like, hey, you might have a shot at this? Like, was it kind of like your parents and people coming up to you saying like, hey, this might be a possibility? Or did it really kind of just pop up one day? Like, how did you realize that you were going to be like a Division One athlete? Or at
Uh,
least have the chance to be.
Honestly, like I always like that's always been like mentally like my
Mhm.
dream in a sense. So it's like I like haven't really thought of anything else. Like it's never like I don't know, I can't really explain it. Like I've always thought like it was a possibility. Like it never like crossed my mind any other alternative. So it's kind of just coming from me. It was like I kind of just had to prove to myself I could do it. And then once I did that, I had to prove it to other people because like my high school team, like I won one game in my high school career. So like coming from a school like that, it was like I had to like just like basically be above and beyond. And I didn't want to leave, so I always wanted to like stick to my roots. Like I wanted to like make sure like I was making it from this school. Like I kind of just wanted to prove it to myself and prove it to everybody else that I could do it. So that was pretty much it. And then how I got into Bryant was I had a few offers. And then my dad, like, I got a call from Bryant. They were like, "Oh, if you come up to my camp, I'll offer you." And then my dad pretty much just dropped what he was doing and just drove me 6 hours there. I went to the camp, which was at like 6 p.m., didn't enter like 9. And then 6 hours back, we didn't get back till like 4 a.m. And I just got my offer. And then
Jeez.
after that, Bryant just showed the most love out of all the schools. And then I ended up committing. And that was pretty much that. That's pretty much how I got to Bryant at that.
Yeah. So you would say it's definitely it would like the just like kind of the community feel and everything with Bryant like definitely had an impact on kind of getting you here.
Yeah, like my closest friends, like we were close friends before I even went to Bryant. Like some of like the kids that committed to Bryant, like we were friends. So like we were such close friends, like before we even went to Bryant that like we drove like 6 hours to go to each other's grad parties, or I flew my for like it was kind of like such a family feel, like with all my brothers at school, where it was like I had no choice but to go there. Like so yeah, it was cool.
That is so cool, dude. I mean, that to have that kind of a relationship that early is actually kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I don't think I've really heard of something like that from college, especially with people that far away.
yeah,
Like that's pretty crazy.
yeah. Nah, it was
Like
it's
how did that like yeah.
I don't know. It's just like you kind of just click with people. It's like even to this day, like some of them don't even go to Bryan anymore. We're still like brothers. Like Jarrett Martin, he goes to URI now, and we
Mhm.
still like go up there every couple weekends, go chill with him. He'll come up to Bryant. So like this is like a family feel. Like I call his mom. He calls my mom. Like I'll go visit his family when he's not even home. It's kind of thing when I'm up there. So it's it's
That's
um it's definitely a family feel between me and my brothers for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've made a lot of good memories so far during your time as a Bryant Bulldog. If you had to think, you can pick multiple, but what would be some of your favorite time moments like while you were here at Bryant? Or, I mean, you're still going to be obviously here, but what are some favorite moments so far?
My number one favorite moment was um performing at Effins both times. That because that was like I never really did anything like that before. Like at the time, like I wasn't really like that was like my first time on stage. So
Yeah.
that was definitely top one. Like that was so fun. And
Mhm.
then probably just freshman year P block. That was
Mhm.
crazy. And then pretty much just football memories, like my first time getting in the game at a home game or something like that. Like those memories definitely I take with me because those are just experiences like almost once in a lifetime like experiences. So I'm just glad I got to experience them when I did and everything.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, for the people who are here from who are people listening who aren't from Bryant, Effins is a local place that houses some music, and it's a all around great place to go to.
Yeah.
How are you how were you approached about doing that? Like, how did that come about?
Uh so we had we had a student a couple years ago named Lapu. Well his name like yeah, he goes by Pooh, Lapu. And he was like really like known for his music on campus. So he kind of like took me
Mhm.
under his wing, like and like he's doing like big numbers. Like some of his songs have like 1 million streams. So like it wasn't hard for him to like sell out Effins in a sense. So the first time, this was when I only had one song with like I had a couple songs, but I only had one song with Pooh. And then he had told me, he was like,
Mhm.
yo, like I want you to perform this one song with me. So like that first year, I only did one song, and so I just did it with him, and that was just a great feeling. Like it was like cool, like being on stage, and I like fell in love with it. So I was like, okay, like I want to make more and more music. And then the next year, he had transferred, so I was the only pretty much artist on campus at the time. So
Mhm.
he had came back. He like set up a concert at Effins, like while he was in Florida. He had set up the concert,
Mm-hmm.
so he had came back and done the concert and like set it up. So like by this point, like I was already kind of like established, at least on Bryant's campus as an artist. So it wasn't
Yeah.
really hard to like sell tickets, but like this time I had like my own like set like of time to like actually perform my own music and everything. So it wasn't hard. I pretty much just took care of like selling all the tickets and everything. And then we just did the show. It sold out. We ended up having like, I forgot how many people there, but it sold out, and it was fun. It was cool. It was like full to the
Yeah.
brim, but it
No,
was definitely a good time.
that's that sounds awesome, dude. I mean, also to probably have like a bunch of your fellow peers around you too that's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, definitely a good time.
Yeah. So kind of, before we kind of fully dive into the music, I know we kind of touched on a little bit there. One last thing I did want to kind of touch on with you in your sports career. I don't know, what you've kind of had to deal with so far, but I'll at least talk about a couple things. In terms of obstacles you've had to face, what is probably you'd say the biggest, obstacle you've had to face in your career? It could be, maybe someone doubting you, an injury that you've had. What was like the biggest thing that you've probably had to overcome during your time, either in college or just in athletics in general?
I would say my biggest thing that I had to overcome was like my own attitude, in the sense where like I had to stop feeling bad for myself and just like go and get it. Like I had to basically grow up a little bit, because like when I first came in, I was so
Mhm.
used to being like the star, and then you come to Bryant where everybody's good, and then it's like, oh, like I redshirted, blah blah blah. So it's like I went into feeling bad for myself, like man, like blah blah blah. Then sophomore year, I didn't play how I should have, like, or at least I felt I should have, because obviously I didn't earn the right to like get on the field like I
Mhm.
was supposed to. But I only ended up playing in like five
Yeah.
games. I had a couple stats, but like it wasn't enough to like really like how I expected. But then like after that, I was just like, you know what? Like it took a while for me to like really like sit down, talk to my family, talk to my friends, talk to the coaches. Like, you know what? Like I was like, it's me. Like I need to like I basically like I need to buck up and like really like focus on myself instead of like everything around me. So after that, like
Mhm.
nothing really happened after that, but it's just been like a year straight of just me working like on myself, basically like just getting better. Like I was just at campus all summer, and I just continue working out every day. So it's kind of like I'm excited to see like what I can do, because now I feel like I'm in like the best shape of my life. Like moving forward, like I feel like I'm in the best situation possible. So it's just like once I like blocked everything else out and like grew up a little bit, and it's like, you know what, like I can't feel bad for myself because everybody else is good. So it's like I just had to focus on myself, and that was pretty much the biggest obstacle, is like my own attitude, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, kind of taking me back with that, you're talking about, this, you're talking about kind of the disappointment of redshirting freshman year. What did, kind of physically, like, did you kind of hit the weight room afterwards? Were you like, how were you kind of like, kind of, trying to fight that adversity? Cause, when you came to college, you kind of saying basically had to kind of prove yourself all over again. It was kind of a new kind of like ground where it's like, hey, like Ronell Joseph, back home in Rochester, New York, is going to get a lot more pull right now than it is going to get over at Bryant University. What kind of how was that kind of like trying to deal with all that? Because I mean, you kind of already kind of explained it pretty well, but just trying to get in that kind of a headspace where it's like, hey, I need to, really kind of amp this up. Like, how'd you kind of do that? Like, what did you kind of do, like physically, mentally? Like, how'd you kind of get to that point?
I mean, coming in freshman year, I was probably like 160, 165 soaking wet. So it's like you come here and you're just
Wow.
like looking up at like guys like Dave Onyman, who's freaking 6'3", 230, freaking Dan Adeboye, who's like 6 foot, 225, fast. Like everybody's like that big and they're fast and agile. So it's like I'm sitting
Jesus.
there looking, I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, like, but I still like in my head, I was like, you know what? Like, forget it. Like, I'm still about to try to eat up. And then after that, I mean, realistically, like you coming as a freshman, you're learning from square one. So like the way you were taught in high school, how to like do things is you're like you can only catch on so fast, like in a sense where it's
Yeah.
like at certain positions, like at cornerback is like all about technique. Like no matter how like good you are, like you have to be technical. Like other positions, like
Mhm.
I could see like say you're like a freshman running back or freshman linebacker, and you're just athletic. Like those are positions where it's just like athlete on athlete. So it's like you could be like,
It's like,
yeah,
hey, yeah, it's kind of just like, hey, like we're gonna give you the ball, you like just go work, go
yeah,
cook, like do what you
yeah,
need to
for
do.
sure.
But yeah, no, I can totally agree with that. It's like when you're playing corner in those positions, there's a lot more just like technical stuff that you could be the greatest athlete on the field, but if you don't have that kind of form,
Yeah.
it's all gonna
Yeah,
it
you
won't
could
come
be the
out in
best
that.
athlete. They're gonna find a way to exploit you because they watching film just like you're watching film. So they're gonna look for ways to like get you. So it's like, especially like, and I came in, I was supposed to play wide receiver. I'm not gonna say I was supposed to, but
Really?
I committed as a wide receiver. And then they had told
Okay.
me like they told me I was gonna play both ways, and like coaching changes and all that kind of just like put me like strictly on defense in a sense. So it's like that was a whole nother like not really obstacle because I played corner in high school, but I didn't really play because I
Mm,
played quarterback for the most part and receiver. So like I wasn't really like a defensive
okay.
minded guy. But like once I like grew up and like realized like okay, like I'm gonna embrace this. Like now I play corner and safety because I put on a little weight. Like I'm probably like sitting at like 193 now, so I feel like it's like
Okay.
a different mindset now. Now it's like I feel like I could do pretty much wherever they put me on the field, whether they could put me at linebacker, I feel like I'm mentally like ready to take it there, basically. So it's like I'm just waiting for my turn. I'm just ready to ball out.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you kind of spoke on that mindset. What is kind of like the biggest like difference that you'd say like in terms of that? Like if there was like one kind of aspect of like an offensive mindset versus a defensive mindset, like the ones that you've had, what kind of did switch for you when you kind of fully committed to that?
I mean, like my mindset always was like I'm gonna beat the person in front of me, but like everybody knows,
Mm,
like when I played receiver, you hate being touched. So it's like it's just
mhm.
like, especially where I was coming from a high school, like they weren't even allowed to like tackle me in practice or like touch. Like it was like a different like environment. So when I'm coming, like I'm the one who has to lay
Jeez.
the boom. Like I wasn't really scared. Like I always like loved tackling and such. But like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like the biggest mindset change, like being, especially a Bryant University defensive player, is like basically just having a dog in you, no pun intended,
Mhm.
and basically just competing every like you like everybody that you see on the field, whether it be me or like whoever's in front of me or whoever you've seen in the past, like they've always competed. Like that's one thing I could say, like, is everybody that I've seen on that defense has competed every single play. So it's like you basically just gotta just compete. Like you don't have to be the best athlete or anything. Like as long as you compete. Like I've seen like walk-ons go from they walked on, just overlooked and end up starting like within a couple weeks. Like it's crazy. Like I don't want to put names out there because like it's a whole like scholar. You don't want to put nobody's business out there, but there's definitely for
Yeah, yeah,
sure
yeah.
some like walk-ons on that starting defense this past year who have been leading the team in something like just doing their thing, balling. And I like that's those people that you look
That's
up to because they
insane.
got that dog. Like they might not be the best athletes, but they will get it done every single time.
They're gonna
Yeah, for
fight
sure.
for
They're
it.
gonna get it done every
Yeah, no,
time.
they're gonna fight for it, and like that's. I mean, I always knew that Bryant kind of had like they in terms of their walk on with that, which for a D1 school like that is actually really impressive to see. To kind of see like guys like that come in and have that level of success. It's pretty. I don't know. I mean, at least for here, that's kind of unprecedented to kind of really see. But you were kind of talking about like some freshman guys coming on, walk-ons, and having success. From what you've seen, if there was kind of a bit of advice that you maybe give to a freshman that was coming on, like if the 160-pound soaking wet Ronell Joseph or any freshman for that matter walked onto campus and kind of wanted to really make an impact on this team, what would be what would be some advice you'd try to give them?
First thing I would be First thing I would say would, like, even when I talk to the freshmen now, I say the same thing. It's like just everything they're saying to you, just like take it in, because like their job, like they're relying on you to put food on the table for their family. So like they're not gonna put you in the game unless they like really believe in you. So basically, like take everything that they
Yeah.
say and really just take it in. Like that's one thing, because some like freshman years things were just going in one ear out the other, like, and that's what was messing me up. So it's like pretty much like anything they say, like just take it in, like, because it means something in the grand scheme of things. Like even sometimes now, like I'll hear my coaches go on and on about the same thing. It's like you just told us, but like as I grew up, it's like it really means something. Like it's gonna be the difference, because like once you see like people who really like, because like the coaches, like you could be the best athlete in the world, and like if you're not understanding what they're saying, they're not gonna put you in the game. And then you see the people who understand what they're saying, like making plays, and like you could like see like exactly what like coaches be like, I said this because this will happen, and then you'll see it in real life, and it's just a great play.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like pretty much everything matters that they tell you. Pretty much, that's one thing I'll say. No matter who it is, because like a lot of people don't like the way like college coaches may talk to them, or because it's a different environment. Like you're going from being the superstar to just they're gonna talk to you however they want. So it's like you just gotta take it and with a grain of salt and just move forward and just actually acknowledge it and learn something from it. So yeah.
No, I mean that's the thing you always hear. It's like, I mean, any guy in the NFL and most likely any guy in any college was the best guy in their high school team and was the best guy in their town for, however many years. They were the guy that everybody talked about. And then you go off to this big university, or if you're lucky enough for whoever makes it to the league, you make it to the league, and it's like, yeah, you were a superstar way back when, but like now it's like, okay, like you're just a number, like you're that guy on the field, and unless you become like one of those like guys that really excel. But there is that whole like process of having to prove yourself all over again.
Yeah, for sure.
I know I talked with you about obstacles on the show, like just a couple of minutes ago. One of the big obstacles that I've talked with a lot of athletes about was kind of the whole impact that COVID had on the college season and everything like that. I know for you guys in 2019, like you guys were able to get through the season pretty well, but coming into this fall, what was kind of like the big change that you guys had to really adapt to as a team? Because I mean, I've talked to guys on the basketball team, like, and how they had to adapt, and like the stuff they were telling me was crazy. Baseball, like they couldn't even use some of their big facilities. So how did it kind of affect football? Probably one of the most hands-on sports like known to man. Like, how did that affect you guys?
Well, the first thing I would say was like finding your motivation when there's no game around the corner. Like you're really just working out for like, and it's like especially like during the fall, like the future was so like undecided that we didn't even know if we were gonna even play in the spring. So it's like finding motivation for like imaginary games and everything. And then this spring when we had our season, like our little 4-game season, the one thing that was really killing us was injuries because like even in the NFL, you saw like people like injuries were just happening like that just because like
it was insane.
Yeah, like you're going from sitting around to like a full football game. So like injuries were like injuries hurt us a lot, definitely, because we lost a lot of good players. But I will say that the people that had to step in for those that were injured did their thing for sure. Like it wasn't like a drop off how it could have been. But yeah, injuries definitely was probably one of the things like because I never seen so many injuries in my life. Like we had like 4 knee injuries the very first game, and it was just like I don't know, it was just crazy.
That's so awful.
Yeah,
that's just so rough. One of the things that I kind of noticed that was like really weird was just like seeing the whole spring football thing in general. I mean, I remember I was doing some announcing work over for the Bryant Sports Network over at the softball games and stuff. And I remember I'd be walking back and I'd be seeing you guys like doing a kickoff in like April. I was like, this is like the weirdest thing. Like, how was that kind of like just being like, oh, we have a game like near Easter,
yeah.
like were you able to like get into the whole football mindset, or was it still kind of like the back of your mind like we technically shouldn't even be like playing right now?
Nah, we were definitely in a football mindset, but you will also see where like we weren't in a sense because like this like first like the season didn't count and then it didn't count for eligibility. So like it like I'm not gonna say it was hard to like find because like we were all ready to go and amped up for the season, but it just like it just seemed like there would be people who were like you could see like during the fall, like say like before COVID, like there's injuries that people were gonna like they're gonna play through. But then like there's injuries like during this spring, and it's like even the coaches are like, yeah, like it's not even worth like because like this like there's like you could definitely see there's like a bigger picture than this spring, like because now we're focused on the fall and like that's like back to like real competitive, like everybody at full strength. Like yeah, because some teams opted out, so we like had to cancel games, remake them up. So like this fall, you'll definitely see like a whole new side of Bryant football for sure.
That's awesome to see, man. I'm really excited for that. Before we do go off into your music, I did just want to ask you a couple more things. I did want to ask, obviously, for anyone who didn't see the news, we announced it on our last show. The NCAA is now going to be allowing players to make money off their name, image, and likeness. Ronell, I've been following a couple guys on the football team. Like, one of my friends from freshman year, Darnell Shillingford, he was posting a couple things about him, like trying to do some brand deals like that. Have you kind of done anything, recently? Is there anything in the works with you, or, but, in general, what's your opinion about it? And, what are you trying to do next with this?
I'm excited for that rule. Like, it came in perfect timing. But like as of now, like all my like quote unquote brand deals or like concerts or anything has been like on the music side of things. So like now,
Mhm.
like Nell The Artist can be Ronell Joseph at the same time. Like, so it's basically pretty much like now I've been like making money through music for the most part. Like, I was before, but I had to like meet with compliance to everything, and I guess like
Mhm.
I was okay in a sense to make music off my streams, but like now I can like make music off my image in a music sense now. But I haven't really had any like communication with like on the football side of things, just because like as of now, like my music has been like blowing up a lot more than me on the football field. But I'm not
Mhm.
complaining. It's just still money.
Yeah. Kind of going off that, and I think this is kind of the perfect time to maybe go into your music career. Kind of like football, I'm gonna ask you, what kind of really got you into doing music in the first place? When did you kind of say like, oh, I want to be a music artist. I want to, do stuff like this. Like, when did that kind of become like a whole like thing in your mind?
I mean, if I'm gonna like take it back all the way to my childhood, like I always was like
Go for it.
a huge fan of like Michael Jackson and Chris Brown. Like I always like loved music. Like that was one thing that because my parents love music. So it's always like I've always like loved music in a sense. Pretty much, I always like made music. I always like wrote songs as a kid, blah blah blah, like sang, rapped, whatever. And then in high school, I rapped. I had a couple like rap videos like go viral, like in high school, but they weren't even like serious. Like they were just kind of like joking around.
Yeah.
And then I didn't go to the studio for the first time till freshman year of college.
Hmm.
I met this kid. His name is Chris, and we were at a party because he doesn't even go to Bryant, but his
Okay.
girlfriend did at the time. So he was there, and we were like freestyle rapping, like just like messing around at a
Yeah.
party. And he was like, "Yo, you should come to the studio with me." So I went to the studio, and I just like I didn't write this. Like I just went to the studio, and I just like I was just so excited to be there. Kind of, I just went off. Like I just like made this song,
Jeez.
and then I ended up posting it, and it got like 10K streams on
Wow.
SoundCloud
Hmm.
in like maybe like a week or two. So I was
Hmm.
like, oh, like maybe I could really do this. And after that, I just started going to the studio more consistently. And then people didn't really start taking me serious like with music till like this year, I would say.
Hmm.
Maybe last, I don't know. But that was kind of when I started. I made my first song in the studio freshman year, and that was pretty much
Hmm.
what when I was like, oh, I could do this. Like it was cool. Like
Yeah, no. I mean, I could probably definitely tell you like music is for a lot of people, like there are a lot of people where it's like, oh, some people like as soon as they do it, it's like, oh, I could 100% see you doing music and it's like that. But I know for a lot of people too, it takes like a lot of like, people where you kind of have to like convince enough people to be like, hey, I'm seriously interested in doing this for them to finally be like, oh, shoot, like this guy can actually make some music and he's actually like really good. When did that kind of moment like really click, like kind of click with some of the people that you were kind of like friends with? Like when were they kind of like, oh shoot, like Renell actually has like really good music?
I mean, people like usually the people around you, like you'll have your close friends who like tell you
Yeah.
like, oh, this is good, this is blah blah blah. But like people around you like really like aren't gonna really start respecting your music until like people all over the country or all over the world do like.
Hmm.
So it's like and once like I started getting like hundreds of thousands of streams, it became like now people are respecting me because they see like it's actually like serious. Like people around the country or around the world are actually like seeing my music and appreciating it for like what it is.
Hmm.
So it's like it became so much like, oh, it's not Ronell making music. It became like listening to the music itself, kind of. Cause I never like grew up as like a musician. Like I just grew up as a football player. So like it like took a while for me to like break from that image of just a football player. So now people like actually see me as an artist and like kind of respect what I do in that aspect.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
No, no, that's actually really cool to see. I mean, I'm just trying to think, man. Like, you know, who did you kind of, I mean, you talked about Michael Jackson and other guys like that. If you had to think of one guy that you kind of like based your sound off of, like who would you kind of say?
Personally, I would say nobody, but
Yeah.
realistically, I would say Rod Wave and A Boogie because that's like the only music I listen to. So that's like the music I like fell in love with, and
Okay.
that's who everybody says I sound like. Like if you go on my TikTok, you'll see like thousands of comments going like Rod Wave and A Boogie, blah blah blah, A Boogie, Rod Wave. So it's like
Dude,
I kind
I
of
swear
accept
to
it.
I
Like
swear
I've
to
been,
God, I was hearing like A Boogie, and I'm like, dude, that's a compliment. Like I like A
yeah,
Boogie bangs, and like like your music is also really good too. So like that's like it's a compliment where it's like, hey, you have like you're really good at harmonizing. You're really able to get your vocals out there, and it really sounds awesome. You know, I, just when it came to A Boogie though, like that was like the funniest thing to me because back in my high school, we had like our high school. I swear to God, had like the most like awkward obsession with A Boogie, I think, of all time. Like, and like we're a Massachusetts high school. Like, we're not in like New York. We're not like in like that whole like area with it. But I remember there was this kid on my baseball team, and he came up to me, and like he came up to all of us, and he was like, "Oh, you guys got to listen to A Boogie." And this was like 2016, so like it was like right as he was like starting to pop up, and like everyone literally was just like, "Oh, like this guy like who is this guy?" Like it was based at the time it was like, oh, like so this is like your underground SoundCloud artist that you want to listen to. And then I literally remember walking to school like the next day and everyone's listening to him. I'm like, what the heck just happened?
nah,
And
A
like
Boogie definitely blew up. Like I remember it. Like I heard A Boogie for the first time. I forgot when, but I like my friend had posted a video on Instagram and like I remember it distinctly because I remember like I used to go to A Boogie concerts all the time. Like
really,
yeah, I mean I still would if like obviously like post COVID,
yeah.
I definitely would. But I
Mhm.
remember I saw the video he had posted on Snapchat actually. It was like him and like it was A Boogie. So I'm like, yo, who like what song like what is that? And he was like A Boogie. I said, what kind of name is A Boogie? I listened to it and I haven't turned back since. Like he like caught everybody. Like it took one listen. That's what I'm trying to get like my song. I'm trying to perfect it to the sense where like it takes one listen and like
And it's
I
like
got
that's
you hooked.
new.
That's like A Boogie. I took me one listen. A Boogie and Rod Wave are the only two people like where I just heard snippets of their songs on like social media. I was like, yo, who is that? And like you listen to one song and it's just like you're hooked. Like it's like I want something like that where it's like you listen to the one song and it's over. Like you really gonna rock with
Dude, Rod Wave is I wasn't actually thinking about that with your sound too much. I like the Rod Wave example is actually kind of one that I wasn't really thinking of. Him too. I mean, I think A Boogie probably kind of took off a little bit like faster than him, but man, Rod Wave like he also kind of like had an insane takeoff when he did that.
me. Yeah, nah, he for sure did. Cause like it's like you only really notice like how people take off if you like know them before.
Hmm.
Like I was like I like I'm not gonna say I obviously because I don't know them personally, but like I
Yeah.
knew of them like early because like one of my friends from New York City, that was the person I was like, yo, whose song is that? And then one of my friends, he actually plays on my football team. He went to the same high school as Rod Wave because
Oh
Rod Wave is
shit.
my age. Rod Wave is only 20, so like
Oh
it's
really?
like yeah, he's young or 20 or 21, something like that. But they had played on the same football team. Yet. Like he had posted a story. I'm like, yo, who is that? So it's like I always like got plugged in early to like artists like that, and then like just watching it blow up is like cool because it's like you can like get credit because you like tell someone like, oh, listen to this dude, and then they like him too. It's like, oh, I put you on kind of thing.
Bro, I
Yeah,
looked at
but
Rod Wave. I thought that dude had a mortgage for sure.
oh no, nah, he's young and he yeah he's
Really?
literally he's if he was in college right now he would be a senior or he would be a grade
Really?
above me because he was he's definitely he was a grade above me because Savion on the football team he went to
Okay.
Broadway's high school. He's going into his junior year, I believe.
Okay.
So and Rod Wave was 2 years above him, and I'm a year older than Savion. So say like Rod Wave technically would have like either just graduated or been like a senior right now.
Hmm. Yeah. So I mean, with your music right now, I know that I know you've released a new song just a while back. What was that again?
Road to Riches.
No, it
I
was
released a few.
yeah. I think you released a remix.
Oh, When I See You by Fantasia.
Perfect. Yeah, I was trying to figure out because I knew you released a few. I know I saw you hyping stuff up on your Instagram, and that's kind of where I kind of found interest in doing this interview with you in the first place. I also follow Barstool Bryant, and I saw them posting a bunch about you, and I was like, who is this guy? And I found out that not only do you do music, you also play football, and that made this to be an amazing interview to do. So it was a great thing that I was able to find you and do all this. Kind of going off everything like that though. we talked about some struggles that you faced in your music career, with trying to, get out there and do some stuff like that. All time, if you had to have a dream collaboration, who would it probably be with in your mind? Like, you could name a couple if you want.
I would say my first one off rip, A Boogie.
Nice.
Cause I know, like, if I got in a song with A Boogie, I know, like, that would be crazy.
No,
I would
everyone's
say
gonna
Rod
get it.
Wave, but like, I couldn't really like. I could, but I couldn't like. That's not like a collaboration where I like know. Like, I know for 100% fact that me and A Boogie will go crazy.
Yeah.
I would say Ed Sheeran.
Ooh, okay.
Like, I just know, like, if I like me and Ed Sheeran would definitely go crazy. I'm trying to think. I'll give one more. I'm trying to think. Let me look. Let me
Where
look
did
through my.
Where did Ed Sheeran come from? Like, that's an
Like,
interesting one.
I just love how he like
Yeah.
he like I don't know. Like, every time I listen to him, I like know, like,
No, he has
I
a
don't know.
great
It's like,
he has a great flow to him, to what
yeah,
he
he
sings. Like
actually
that.
like can flow
Oh
for
my God,
sure.
no! It like that's actually kind of interesting because I remember he released that album. I think it was back in 2019 where he got a bunch of guys on it like that. I think let me try to think who he got on that album.
Nah, it was A Boogie was on the album. He had made that one song. It was A Boogie. Meek Mill was there. Like, he like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like, he like he could
you
make
got
songs with
Chance the
anybody.
yeah, no, you got Chance the Rapper, you got Travis
Yeah,
Scott, Eminem, 50 Cent. Like, he got like a bunch of guys on that, and I was like, Ed Sheeran's like pulling this. Like, this is insane. How is he doing this,
yeah. Nah,
dude?
I
No,
could feel like I could do something with Ed Sheeran
really?
and maybe like Olivia Rodrigo.
Okay. You
Yeah,
you
I
you're a
think.
big Olivia Rodrigo fan?
Yeah, I actually really like Olivia Rodrigo. I like what
Yeah.
she, cause I listen to all types of music. Like, I
Yeah.
listen to like I can never like get like all my friends make fun of me because like they never give me the aux because like if I press shuffle like it's gonna be like Olivia Rodrigo, then it's gonna go to like, and then it's gonna go to like I don't know, like anything could pop up. Like, I even got some Jesse J on my like anything could pop up.
Dude.
But I just listen to all types of music because I like try to like like the songs I make to me don't really fit in a genre.
Hmm.
Like, I don't rap, I don't sing. It's kind of like it's just whatever sounds I like.
Hmm.
I just put on there in a
That actually,
sense.
that whole shuffling thing, that kind of reminds me of a playlist I have on Spotify. It's called Jams, and literally, like, the only thing I have to say, the only like thing that goes through my mind is I'm just like, will I like be enjoying myself like while I'm listening to the song? And like, if the answer is yes, it just goes on this playlist. And man, it's the most random playlist like of all time. Goes from like Mumford and Sons to Drake to the Eagles to My Chemical Romance. It's like the most random thing ever. But like, in my mind, I'm just like, if they were to like play like after each other, like, I would like, it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, when
So
I'm
like,
just like summer, like it's like some Darius Rucker,
nice.
some anything. Like, I'm
Oh yeah.
anything. I'm as long as I'm enjoying myself,
Oh
I
yeah.
just love music.
Yeah, dude. I'm the same way. I don't care what it is. Like, my mindset for the longest time was like, I was like not into music like whatsoever. And then like, I think around high school, once I got Spotify Premium, that kind of changed the whole deal for me. But
Yeah.
no, because dude, I literally hated like having to listen to stuff on like, dude, did you ever have to do the ads with Spotify?
Yeah, that was before I got Apple Music. I definitely remember that. Like, just
Dude,
trying to like get to your song. This is like searching up a song is just useless without premium because like you just literally you're never gonna get your song.
dude, it was terrible. I mean, I remember like I I had like my playlist radio was like the weirdest thing ever. Like, cause I mean, I probably didn't get it till like I probably didn't get premium till like 2017. So like my playlist radio would just like be mixes of like Jason Derulo and Fetty Wap. And it was like
Fetty
the
Wap went crazy.
oh my God, dude, that was a big one. Like Fetty Wap went nuts at our school. Like everyone was blasting that,
2016. Oh my gosh, that was the best summer strictly because of Fetty Wap. Like, he made that summer.
dude.
I
Uh,
definitely will stand on that.
dude, I'm really mad that Fetty Wap was really never able to like top off like his I guess 2016 debut, kind of like that. I mean, I've like a lot of people compared his rise, and like I don't think it's a fair one to compare, but him and Post Malone almost kind of like started off like in the same place, like as kind of like when they rose, and they kind of rose at the same time. And Post Malone obviously is still going like through the roof. I think he's releasing a song tomorrow actually. And then Fetty Wap, like after his self-titled album, he's had some good songs here and there like ever since, but but it really hasn't been able to compare, and I don't know why, because I don't know if it's the sound. I think the sound was always fine. I just don't know what happened there.
I think like certain sounds, like if you think of like Summer 16,
Mm-hmm.
it was like full of like, I wouldn't say one hit wonders, but I would say like the sound of Summer 16 was completely different than like the music we hear now.
Oh yeah,
Like in a sense, where like Fetty Wap, like obviously you had Trap Queen, 679, all those songs. But then if you think like
Lil
the
Yachty a little
song,
bit too.
yeah, Lil Yachty, and then the song Cheerleader, that was a huge
Oh my
song.
god, that was a huge one.
Yeah, so it's like songs like that, like you don't hear, like if you go on the radio, you're not gonna hear like that's not like what's pop, like that's why like every time you hear a song from 2016, you get like nostalgia.
Well,
Whereas
yeah,
like it's like because like that sound was 2016, like, and that's why it was such like a good year for
you
sure.
know, I think that's kind of the perfect way to describe it, because like 2016, like there was no like specific sound. Like nowadays, like I don't know, like here's the thing. Any artist can always come out there and like there have been great songs this year. I'm not going to say that there aren't, but no, you're right. Like what I think made 2016 good was like how unexpected things were. Like it was
Yeah,
like nothing was ever really set in stone with it.
yeah, because it's like that's one thing about music is like it's hard. That's why I like can't write songs anymore. Like I just go off of like what I'm like if I go to the studio, like whatever however I'm feeling, but like it's hard to like come up with a new sound. Like no matter what you do, like someone's gonna be like, oh, it sounds like this, or oh, it sounds like. But
Hmm.
like in 2016, like there was like a shift. Like
Yeah.
that's the one thing. Like it's like because like when Fetty Wap came out, nobody sounded like Fetty Wap. And
No.
then even 2016, A Boogie came out in like late 2016, where it's like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
nobody sounded like A Boogie. But like now it's like until like a new sound comes, which like obviously like hopefully I'm the one to think of it, but like
Hmm.
the music I've been making, like I haven't thought of like a new sound. Now everything just sounds so like repetitive.
Hmm.
And like even with my music, like I like it's like based off how I feel, but like I'll hear like traces of other things within my music. So I'm not gonna say like, oh, my music is like this, but like it's definitely hard to like come up with a new sound. But like 2016, I would say like was the new sound in a sense. But like that
Hmm.
kind of happens every couple of years.
Yeah.
Like A Boogie blows up, Rod Wave blows up, people want to sound like them. Then someone else will blow up, and then they'll be the new sounds. And then people for a couple of years will want to sound like them. Then after that, it kind of it's like a cycle, kind of.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, no, I don't know about you, but it feels like summer of 2016 everything was kind of unique. I feel like the summer of 2021 it's kind of like I think artists right now are kind of are trying to capture kind of like what once was with some genres of music, cuz I think you're talking about Olivia Rodrigo, she's obviously making a lot of music in that pop punk category that dominated the early 2000s. I mean, you think of like Simple Plan, Blink 182 bands like that and what they were able to do back then. And then you kind of think now, what Olivia Rodrigo is doing. And, another guy I like to think of and throw in this mix too is Machine Gun Kelly, because, Machine Gun Kelly started off as like, you think of Wild Boy, you think
A
of like the tracks.
rapper now, yeah, I
Now,
definitely
now he's,
has album punk rock basically. Like,
yeah, I actually don't mind that. I mean,
no, I like
like,
it.
I didn't like, here's the thing. Like there were some like MGK songs that I liked when he rapped on, but dude, I really like him as a pop punk artist. Like I think that
Yeah,
he really does well in that category. Like he found his niche.
yeah, no, that definitely was like even like I definitely got the album on my phone. Like some of my favorite songs on the album, like it's like within like my first scroll. I don't even gotta go to the next page. But the songs I like on that album, let's see. Tickets to My Downfall.
Yeah.
I really like I like Jawbreaker. I like
Okay.
that song a lot.
Mhm.
There's one song I'm trying to find. I can't really think of the name right now.
Yeah, my favorite song on there, I'd have to say at least it was in my rotation for one of my favorites. It was Concert for Aliens. I really liked that one. I don't know why. It was like such a kind of a like I watched the music video for it too, and it seemed just so wacky and like nostalgic that like I just like there was like a sense of it that I was like I don't know why, but I really like this.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think. I think it's this one.
Oh, my ex's best friend. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that song a lot. That I heard that on TikTok. That's why I didn't even know that was MGK. Like I heard it a couple months ago on TikTok, and I was like, "Who is that?" And I just liked how it sounded.
Yeah.
went and downloaded the album, and I was like, "That's MGK." He went crazy.
No, like he completely switched up his style. Another guy I think of too, obviously on that song, my ex's best friend, Black Bear. He completely, well, he didn't really switch up his sound, but he kind of got more into that like kind of early new 2000s kind of nostalgic kind of vibe. He kind of
Hmm.
got more towards there. Another guy I think of too is I don't know if you know who Mod Sun is.
Nah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's kind of MGK's like wingman. He has like green hair. Like he has a couple good songs, and he actually released a song with Avril Lavigne. It's actually a really good song. It's called Flames. And it really has some and it's probably the best I've heard Avril Lavigne sound in like years. She sounds amazing on that track. But I think that like, that's kind of what 2021's been. It's kind of been, artists kind of trying to reclaim, a sound of like about 20 or so years ago. You think of like the more instrumental kind of tracks, like, obviously you're still going to have the heavy synths and you're going to have like, the bass and like all those things like that. But I feel like, artists are trying to, in a sense of, creating something new. They've been going back and trying to, maybe kind of reinvent this.
Yeah, I could definitely stand on that. Like even when I tried to remix "When I See You," it's like I was like, oh, it's one of those songs I fell in love with when I was younger, and it's like, oh, I could like make it again for like now, like make it for people who like I don't know, kind of just like revamp it, kind of.
Hmm.
Yeah, but going back to Olivia Rodrigo, like, cause I always loved Paramore. Like that was like,
Yeah.
and I could see definitely like Paramore ties within her music. But I still listen to Paramore. I actually really like Paramore.
Yeah.
But I could definitely like see like even like some songs like "Good for You." Like there's like things like some of it sounds like Paramore and like blah blah blah. It's like you could like see where like people are trying to like revamp certain styles for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I heard all the controversy about "Good for You" sounding like "Misery Business." Like there was that whole like,
Yeah.
I'm like TikTok was going nuts with that. They were having like an absolute field day, just being like, did she copy like this person? It's like, no, probably not. She was probably just inspired by it.
Yeah,
But
like people don't understand. Like it's like it's inspiration. Like people should be flattered. Like the people who like release the music, because obviously I'm sure Paramore has heard "Good for You" by Olivia Rodrigo just
oh
because how
yeah,
big she is.
by now at least.
Yeah, it's just like it should be flattering, like to some like especially when you already like have your own success, it should be flattering in
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, listen, unless you're like, listen, the beats are going to sound similar, but I don't think that she's blatantly copying. I think that she is putting her own flair on something like that. I mean,
Hmm.
like, I don't think that, this wouldn't be something this wouldn't be a wise thing to, bring up to court. Like, it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah,
Like, I
no, I
remember,
wouldn't be with it.
John Fogerty, who's a singer who wrote the song Center Field. I remember he got dragged into court because and they said that he copyrighted his own song, and he literally went in the courtroom and said no I didn't, and he proceeded to play both songs trying to explain like why they were different in the courtroom. I was like, that's actually kind of funny just because like he had to like basically defend his name.
No, that's hilarious.
Like I just imagine I could only just imagine being in that courtroom. That'd just be the funniest thing like ever.
I couldn't imagine. I was like, I don't even know why. Like, it was two of his own songs.
Yes, it was two of his own songs, but I think what I think might have happened, I don't know exactly why he would have been sued for it, but my best guess is probably that he maybe signed like with a different label maybe.
Yeah,
That's
that
the only
makes
thing I
sense.
could assume as to why, but at the same time I'm just like why would that matter though? Like if he's the one doing the music, but I guess if maybe he didn't own the rights to it, then they could like then the other company could say like, "Hey, like you're ripping us off."
Nah, yeah, for sure. When it comes to like record labels and stuff, like they basically like own you. So it's
Oh yeah.
like it's not your like it's your song, like you made it, but like they they definitely own it. So it's like they'll be like, oh, like I'm making less money because you made a different song with a different label, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
No.
kind of like that. I could see why he had to defend his own name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I'm only just thinking of why that would be the case. That could be
That's the only
something of
thing
like,
that makes sense because he wouldn't sue himself.
yeah, no, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what it was because I remember that being like a story that I like read about like way back when. So I was trying to figure out what that was. I remember I saw John Fogerty. I went down to the Orange Bowl down in Miami when they were playing that down there. It was actually a crazy game. I got to see Deshaun Watson take on Baker Mayfield.
That's really a great
Like that,
matchup.
yeah, it was Deshaun Watson back when he was at Clemson. I'm like, this is like actually insane. And
Yeah.
uh and like I remember he was playing, and I feel really bad for him because like like he has a good voice, but I think the audio system that they set up in the stadium, they did such a bad job setting it up, and he just did not sound like himself. But then when he went down into like the tunnel area, he sounded great, and I was like, what is going on right now? But then he went on the field, and it just like sounded so off, and I'm just like, that's so bad.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably the sound system, especially in a
I'm
tunnel.
blaming. Oh my god, I'm blaming the audio. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I would, if I was him, I'd blame it too. Like,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
they
Yeah.
messed me up.
hmm But dude, you were talking about trying to find a new sound. What are you going to try to? What are some things that you want to maybe kind of experiment with? I know you've kind of thrown a couple little different things out there, but you already have a great sound already. But what are you going to maybe try to do to really separate yourself in the future?
I don't know. I kind of just want to experiment. Like, I kind of want to make
Yeah.
like an MGK type, like punk, blah blah, for sure. I would say I kind of want to like dabble, like maybe make like even like a reggae song, and make like a
Yeah.
Paramore type song where I had like real guitars in the back, like somewhere I could just like expand to like
hmm
to all types of genres.
hmm
That's one thing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Like I just kind of want to just see what I could do, basically, like
hmm
because I listen to all that type of music, so I know how it's like supposed to sound. So it's not like I'm just like doing it just cause like that's like music I grew up on.
Yeah.
So it's like we're like myself, like I wouldn't
hmm
say like my family listened to Paramore, but like I just always like love the way they sound.
hmm
But like songs like that, or maybe like I don't know. I can't. We'll see. I guess I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I wish you the best of luck with doing that. And I do just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And it's unfortunate to say, but I think it is time to say that we are now down to the wire, which means that we're going to go through everything we kind of talked about in this episode and kind of like a, little fast button pace and wrap things up. Obviously, we welcomed Ronell into the show. We talked about his life in football and kind of the transition he had to go through, from going from an offensive player to a defensive player at Bryant University, some of the struggles he had to face, with himself personally and also with COVID. But then went into his music career and talked about, some things that he wants to do over there. We talked about, we kind of went into a talk that we weren't expecting to have about, like the sound of like 2016 versus 2021. I really enjoyed talking about that with you. That was actually really cool to kind of talk about because
So
just reminiscing about the summer of 2016, man, it really, lives up to its name for a reason. Like the summer of 2016 was a great year.
100%.
Mm. But obviously, it was a great show to have him on, and we can't wait to. I can't wait to possibly get you back on at some point to talk with you, talk to you maybe about the season at some point when that's going on. Maybe if you release some more music, I'll get you back on for that. But if you're not falling down the wire at this point, what are you guys doing? You can follow us now on Spotify, Apple Music. Thank God we're finally there now. Google Podcasts. But the main hub you can reach us through is our Instagram. You can follow that at down.to-the-wire. Again, at down.to-the-wire. Ronell, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a blast to have you.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Nell the Artist, or Ronell Joseph, whatever you want to call me.
And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.